We're back for another Tuesday talk, and this one is about negotiating. When it comes to negotiating, you always hear people think like they have this under control and they know what they're doing, and I'm coming in here and I'm gonna tell them who's boss, or I'm gonna make sure to take charge and no one's gonna be able to get in my way. And I'm no different. I was obviously on the wrong side of this every single time. And I started thinking more and more, especially with work, like, how can I fix this problem that I have of trying to make sure everyone sees something my way? And I realized every single day and every single time you interact with somebody, it's a negotiation process. Whether it's with yourself and getting up in the morning and you hitting snooze, whether you're with your friends hanging out and you're talking about your beliefs when it comes to basketball, or you're thinking about what you're going to do with your team to get them to get through the task of the day, or if you're literally hanging out at your first date and the dude has one thing on their mind for the end of the night and you're trying to make them as comfortable as possible. It's still, no matter what, negotiation. Or for the mere fact of it, you're just a parent trying to get your kid to go to bed. That's also something we deal with every day when it comes to negotiating. And we put such a horrible terminology on it, and we put such pressure on things when it comes to negotiating that we don't think of one thing. And what I started doing in my head is really thinking of a pendulum swinging back and forth. And on one side is you, on the other side is the other individual, and in the middle is the outcome. And negotiation is a rhythm, and it's a flow. And based off that rhythm and flow is how comfortable you make the person feel on the other end, and how you keep that consistent rhythm and flow. Frank Abagnale, I think I'm saying his last name correctly, he is actually, the movie Catch Me If You Can is based off of him. And he actually became someone who worked for the FBI. And the whole time he talked, he was just very soothing, calming, and believing, no matter what he said to you. And when you think of a car salesman, people say he's a slick car salesman. It's not what he says to you, it's how comfortable he makes you feel in the situation. If you look at someone of the opposite sex and the way they talk to you, I think of how a woman talks to you and they say something to you and you feel awkward. It's because how comfortable they make you feel, but it's because of how you already feel in that situation. Which brings me into 3 subjects that we're gonna look at when it comes to negotiating that I think are really important for me at this point. Remember, these are just things that I think about right now with the information that I've learned through time, and really what can change as knowledge grows and as my village grows. So I think there's 3 subjects that are really important in negotiation. It's listening, the setting, and you. You as the negotiator. Because that's what's the most important part to me at this point in time. So when it comes to listening, and I say listening, I'm not talking about the words. So many times I've heard it's not what you said, it's how you said it. So in negotiation, people talk about a raised inflection or a deflection to make people feel comfortable given the scene or based off of your personality. That's the you part of it. Well, are you listening to that individual and what they're saying? Before you can negotiate, you have to see where the other person stands within the negotiation, within the topic. So if you don't listen to them and what they have to say, you've already lost. So you have to admit losing first by letting them go first. Because the outcome is in the middle. How close they get to the outcome you're looking for is based off of you. And that's why I say it's like a pendulum swing going back and forth. Now, based off of the rhythm and how smooth it is how it stays in favor for you. If it gets slow and stagnant, or if it goes too fast, it's based off of how you carry it and how you take the conversation. So the point is always making sure you're in control by keeping, to me, in mind how the other person feels. And if you do that, then you really realize negotiating isn't about right or wrong. It's really more about a collaboration to get to the outcome desired. And that's the most important thing that you want. So you really have to collaborate with the other person, hence why I said a rhythm and a flow to get your outcome and how close you get to that outcome. Because that's why it's called a negotiation or bargaining. No matter if it's business, personal, or just with you daily going over what you're going to do that day, you're still going back and forth with yourself. The other part we talked about is the setting. So when I say setting, you have to know your topic. If it's business, if you're a supervisor, if you're talking to a fellow teammate, if it's personal and you're talking to a family member, a friend, you're talking to your parent, no matter what, you have an outcome that you're looking for or desired. And based on that setting and who's involved in that setting is how you keep them intrigued and how you keep them engaged. Because that's the key part you're looking for. You want to be engaged. You want people to be able to look at you and feel comfortable with you. So you creating the setting is the most important part. Your approach before you even said anything is so important. So if you approach aggressively, automatically you've set the scene for an aggressive bargaining transaction. And that's what it becomes, a transaction. You're going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And that's it. So it no longer is a collaboration. And I listened to a video by Chris Voss, who was an FBI investigator, and that's the biggest thing he talked about. He realized that he had to show the person on the other end of the phone that he was on their team. Not that they were on his team. So he had to give up power to gain trust. Which, if you gain their trust, then you regain power and confidence. And that's the way I view it again as me and myself. Because again, you're looking for and learning about the person to find the outcome that you want. Now again, if your setting is a candlelight dinner and you're both sitting, you make the other person relaxed and you're talking to them, then you find out more about them. Because the more you find out about them, the more they see the similarities, hopefully, that you bring to them with yourself. That's what you're looking for the outcome. Or if you're interviewing somebody, the more that you get them relaxed and comfortable, guess what? The more they'll open up, break down the shell, and you're able to see who they really are and who they really will be as an employee. But the more that you keep things rigid, you keep things very direct, then they're able to stay within that barrier and not allow you to see if they're going to be a good fit for your team. And that's what's very important to understand when creating a setting. So no matter what, you have to remember to make that person feel comfortable and engaged. That's so important. And to make it feel like everything they're saying is more important. So in the very beginning, your words are very minimal. I also remember that that's 31% of the battle. They said scientifically, Chris Voss was talking about it, 31% of the battle is putting them in a positive mood. Do they feel positive? Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel engaged? All that is 31%. So if you do that right away, it's already 31% in your favor, right? If you're looking back at your pendulum again. Before you've even said anything, that's 31% of the battle. Now, the next part we talked about is, are you listening? So you listening is another 50%. Because remember, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listening, and we've talked about it in a previous Tuesday talk, is so important. To not just hear them, but listen to how they say things. Listen to how a certain subject makes them feel. When they talk about a previous employer and how they felt uncomfortable in certain situations. Based off of your feedback and based off of you repeating it to them, lets them know your intent and lets them know your sincerity. So if you're not being sincere, guess what? They're gonna be able to find that right away. And now that 50% just immediately went the other way. And now you're further away from your outcome and what you want. And now it swings to them, and now you create that barrier again that we're not looking for. And then it comes to you. Because now we've talked about pretty much 80% of the battle. The 20% is the smallest part. That's you. How you are, how you interact, how you approach, how you have something to say. So you have to pay attention to your delivery. The tone is so important. Your tone, when to create excitement, when to show that you're engaged, raising your eyebrows and like, did you really say that? I can't believe I heard that. Or being like, oh wow, inquisitively. All those things lets the person feel comfortable in the fact that you're paying attention to what they have to say. In negotiation, it's all about comfort level. No matter if it's a hostile situation, you don't want to meet someone with hostility if the situation is hostile. That's one thing I kept hearing over and over again. So if you're selling a house and they're already tense and they're nervous and they're anxious because they've never been here before, they're a beginner. You're the holder of all the knowledge and information. They know that. That's why they're there. The only thing you have to let them know is that you're trusted enough to be the person for them. And are you being trustworthy enough for them based off of the personal experiences that you give the individual? And if you're not willing to do that, then now the setting becomes different. And now you didn't listen to what they had to say. Because when you think if someone's trying to help you, you don't look at the credentials. When I listen to people I want to talk to, I don't look at the credentials and degree. I listen to their experiences and what they have to say. A lot of times we go to people older than us for knowledge. And we go to them because they've already been through it. They already know. Well, that's the same thing. If you're coming to someone, you're coming because you feel confident in the fact that they know what's going on. So the point of negotiating is to show that you know what they're going through so that way you can get where you need to be. When you think about negotiating, don't think of it as necessarily a problem or a conflict. Think of it as a partnership. More and more as I go through and learning more about business and learning more about life in general, I realize partnerships are necessary. Even with the virus that's going on right now, you realize that as a people, we're naturally social. Even children, they're social people. They're meant to interact with people. They're meant to talk to people. So they're meant to build partnerships. So in negotiating, why would you do anything different? You'd build that partnership. So as you go forth this week, make sure you're building partnerships. Make sure when you're negotiating with people and what you want out of life, make sure it's a partnership to get there. Remember, always collaborate. So please make sure to help me in this partnership. Share this on Facebook, share this on Instagram, and definitely on Snapchat. If you have any questions or if you just want to talk about it, please make sure to put comments down at the bottom. You can follow on YouTube, Flip Culture TV. Please subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts. Thank you for being part of my village, and I hope you learn as I'm learning, and I want to learn from you. See you on next Tuesday Talk.